with audio?
Well, now I see it's actually being live streamed. He's on the ball, man. He is on the ball. So let me go ahead and hit the record button. So first of all, apology to everybody last week. 2 weeks ago, Rob wasn't with me and I screwed up and I don't know how to set the OBS system to I'm gonna shut this phone off or people are gonna annoy the crap out of me. There we go. But last week I didn't realize that I wasn't streaming with my microphone audio coming out, so everybody was watching on Facebook saying hello. Well, of course I wasn't looking at Facebook because I was doing a presentation, and that's what happens when Rob goes on vacation. So Rob, you're not allowed to go on vacation anymore. Your vacation time is done, and we're going to have some fun here doing some stuff in xLights tonight. So the first thing I want to bring up is there is a really major, rather huge announcement. Some people who are in the PPD club, I swear I'm going to shut this phone off. Road on the other side of the room. I don't even need it. So as far as the exciting major announcement that we've got going, starting this month, coming up, and next month, we are going to do something rather special with the PPD Sequence Club members. So if you're in the club, you're going to want to stay in the club. And if you're not in the club, you might want to join it, because PPD is going to do something that's just a little bit wild and crazy for what we normally do. And so as far as the way the structure of the club is, it's always been or well, at least it has been for the past 2 or so years, 3 years, we've been doing pick any 3 sequences out of the triple play, and one of those sequences are monthly and the other 2 sequences are available for 50% off. We're going to continue doing that, but the difference for going into September and October is we're going to offer 2 brand new sequences. So as everybody knows, we do a guess the sequence contest. The guess the sequence contest is pretty much all the hints are out there. So I'm not going to gamesake the sequence of the month as you know, as we usually do it. But we're going to also have an additional sequence of the month next month, actually starting tomorrow night. And you will be able to choose from 2 new ones or one of the ones that we've already had in the store that's already available, but it's also for the club members so that they can get it as if they don't care for the other 2. So that's it's a big step for us to take, because we think that the community wants a little bit more choice, and it's going to be a little bit more to put into the PPD club. So we've decided that that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to try to accommodate 2 new sequences for September and October. So, and they're not going to be Christmas songs either. So that's the other kind of big announcement. So we're rather excited about this because it's really out of our wheelhouse. We're kind of stretching things a little bit. So that's the exciting news. I just wanted to tell everybody so that if you haven't joined the club, now might be a good time to join the club, because we're going to start doing we're going to change it up just a little bit. We're going to throw people back on their heels. So get ready, because I think you guys are going to like what we're going to do. So as for other announcements, it's the end of the month. If you haven't got your PPD club sequence already, by all means, go to the store, select the one you want, go upgrade to Pro for $10, get it into your download section so that you have it to download later. If you've forgotten any of your sequences, by all means, send us an email at info@pixelprodisplays.com for any of the months that you might have missed. We can help you reclaim those. If you left the club and you missed like 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, and you want to reclaim those ones that you've missed, by all means, let us know if you've missed them, and we're happy to get them set up for you. So beyond that, I want to get started with tonight's lesson. Tonight, what we're going to do, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the final August 2022 PPD sequence webinar. What we're going to work with tonight is we're going to work with custom models, and custom models have been there's been a lot of changes over the years. I won't say that there's a lot of new additions, but I think there's a lot of things inside the custom models that we probably don't talk about a whole lot. And it's very clear that last week when we were doing some work around doing some specific custom work with a custom model, that there were questions on how to act or react with certain things that were in the custom model. And there were tools built into xLights to kind of help fix those issues. So I want to share with you some of the options that are in the inside the xLights custom model dialog that's built into xLights. Now, I also would be feel a bit of remorse if I didn't mention that at lightshowhub.com there is a custom model builder tool that is also available that was created by David Peace, and by all means he's put a significant amount of work into it. I've used it whenever it was necessary to use it. But I don't have the need to build a lot of custom models. Usually that happens on Robert's side or somebody else's side, and I get the model and I do the submodel work, and I set up the submodels and I do the states and such, so that's the side that I work with. And so if that's something that you guys are interested in, maybe if you're in the in chat, maybe you could put in chat, or if you're on Facebook, put it in the comment section. Maybe you could comment down below and tell us if you'd like also another video on doing the Light Show Hub tool that David Peace made up. We probably could go through that. Rob would probably be way better at understanding the ins and outs of doing that. So it doesn't, but it is definitely a tool that works with xLights. The reason why I know the xLights custom model builder so well is, well, I won't say so well, but why I have so much more familiarity with it is that since xLights added a custom model builder, we had to find ways to make things work in xLights from a very early day. I probably made 4 or 5 videos on making custom models in xLights, and that's one of the reasons why I don't want to spend a lot of time on physically making a custom model. I'll walk you through the process, but we've done a lot of videos already on that subject. But what we haven't talked about are all the options that have been built into xLights on the custom model builder. So that's what we're going to hit today. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and get started. And on this part here of the layout tab, you'll see we have all the models that are native models right here inside xLights. Now, if you look here, you'll see this icon here with the, looks like a singing tree. Actually, it kind of looks like a blob arrow of some sort that has the shape of sort of a singing tree. If you click on that icon just one time, click and drag, you'll be able to create a custom model. Now, the first thing you want to do is give it a name, and I'm going to call this circle. Delete me. And the reason I use delete me is so that I know go back and delete this out of here. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly, but you know, sometimes we forget that we're working on something and doing a demo, and I want to make sure I don't keep it in this layout, for example. So in any event, to get into the custom model dialog, in order to start making our custom model, what one of the things that you would start with is click on the model data and then click on the 3-dot icon. And then here, this is where pretty much a lot of the magic happens to all of the custom models in xLights. There's a lot of things that you can work through in here. The first thing you'll notice is you have a width and you have a height and you have a depth. That means you can have a depth or make a cube of some sort, or a sphere. You can make any 3-dimensional object, but it's going to take some time and effort to logically think out how to make your 3D prop, because you can do 3D props. I know I'll give a shout out to John Storms, because he did a 3D prop for his either he did it for his reindeer or he did it for his cactus a number of years ago when the 3D first hit xLights. So there are 3D options. I really don't want to jump into 3D because it's a whole different ball of wax, and it's really another level of thinking, and I want to kind of keep it more towards the functionality of the custom model dialog. So just in basics, what you see here is this width and height, and that's the basics that we're going to get into. Is you see it, the custom model default is to have a 5 grid high by 5 grid wide setup, and you can see that here, and that's very clear by clicking and dragging on all of these little squares. Now, xLights has a built-in reminder that if you have a model that is anything larger than 200 by 200, xLights is going to notify you in your check sequence to say that you have a model that is larger than 200 by 200, and that size of a model can create or cause lag in a sequence render time. And that's because when xLights renders any effect, every single effect, and that's on any model, the PPD wreath, the spinners, the snowflakes, anything high definition, if your grid on any of your props is greater than 200 by 200, then what xLights has to do is it has to render 1 byte of data. Now I don't know the actual numbers, but imagine 1 byte of data for every single square that is inside here. So 200 by 200 is obviously 4,000 bytes of data. It's not a 5 by 5 square, which would only be 25 bytes of data. So the size of your model. Now everybody loves looking at the pretty perfect models that everything is like, you know, super uber perfect, and that's great, but the challenge is sometimes those models can have a grid size of 350 by 350 or 400 by 500, or some of them go way up to 1,000. And if you have a model, and I don't think xLights does any models natively bigger than 1,000 by 1,000, there is a limit to what it can do. But the larger the model, the more bits of data that has to render. And just know that the larger your models are, and that they will require more render time. So that is a definite reason for seeing in your check sequence, hey, this model is this big by this big. Consider that something that's going to cause your render times to be somewhat higher. So expect that with the very pretty models that you put a lot of time into. Expect that with those larger models. Now, I went through in a number of the models in our pro layout, and I kind of shrunk them down, and that's something that xLights can do. But you do that at the only risk that you have to doing that is you lose some of the pretty. It doesn't hurt the model. xLights still remembers where the pixels are, but in many cases, shrinking the model down will certainly help with your render times. It may not look as pretty on your screen, but if you don't mind the render time, some people do, some people don't. But in any event, that's a little bit of the precursor for doing what we're going to do tonight. And so if kind of get some of the things that you may run into whenever you do the check sequence and so forth. So the first thing we're going to start out with, we're going to make one simple model. And I just want to do this just so that you can see a model being created. We're going to make a circle. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I want to keep it nice and simple. Let's do 10 by 10. I really didn't think about this ahead of time. But what I want to do is I want to hit browse, and I'm going to look for an image of a circle. There's an image of a circle. And you can see here that I changed the size of this beforehand. If you add the picture of the circle first and then change the size, you have to click OK, then click on the model data and click back into it. And it will come back up and it'll fill the screen with the correct size. So I want to make sure that I can do this with 16 pixels. So let's kind of bump up the grid size. You'll get to see what it looks like when we adjust it. Let's do 12 by 12, let's say. Okay, so it kind of did auto size that, which I'm a little surprised over. I've never realized that, but used to be you had to click OK and had to come back in, but maybe that was a bug that they fixed. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just build a circle, and I'm going to do this as if I'm looking at it from the front view. And you'll notice that you have a couple things available to you that are called auto numbering, and I'm going to hit active and auto increment. So active tells you whatever this number is, actively every time you click into a cell, it will fill it in with that number. But, and I'll delete these out with the delete key real quick. But if you are going to do like a pixel prop, that's more like an AC prop or a dumb RGB prop. Maybe you're going to do with pixels, you're going to use auto increment, and then you'll see that every time you click, it will automatically increment up to the next number. So you don't have to think about what you're doing. So the idea behind this is that you can take a picture, a physical picture of your prop, and that picture of the prop can sit where you see this circle now in the background. And then we have this ability to dim it down if the lights are turned on. And then you can click out the individual pixel nodes because you know how you push that prop. So this is how you create an individual custom model. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom model. I'm going to reset the channel to start number one. I'm going to use active and auto increment. And I am going to say, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so there's 16 pixels. I know it's not anything crazy, but you can see here that you have a 3D render of the circle that was created, or the pixel circle that was created to build your custom model. Now, if we click OK, you're going to notice that we have a circle model that's right here. Maybe we can get it off on the nice dark. Maybe you can't see it. So if you can't see this, and possibly you can't see this, one of the things that you can do is you can go down here in xLights settings down here, and you can change the appearance. And what we're going to change is the pixel size. And if you change this and bump this up to, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4, you can see it nice and much more bold. There's a couple different other settings. You can come down here and play with smooth. You can use square. You can use solid circle. You can use blended circle. So I'll just use the solid circle. So basically here is the basic introduction to how you can create a individual custom model. Now, obviously, the more complex the model is, the more squares in your graph that you're probably going to need in order to make the curved line look like a curved line in a direction, or so that you know this pixel is above this pixel down here. So there's interesting facets when you're doing a larger custom model. I know I'm working with something small, but this will help kind of drive the points home that are known as the functionality in the custom model builder. So if we go back into the dialog box, we can see that it retains that background image. If you carry this over from this, let's say you carry this layout from this computer onto a thumb drive, and you decide that you're going to do to open this up on another one, this background image may not show up because when you move the files over, it may not transfer. It's probably not going to if it's not in your show directory already, or it won't find it because it has a different file location. It'll have this file location from this computer. So with that being said, some of the options here on the model dialog are going to be, you have what we call a cut, you have a copy, you have a paste, and you have a plus and a minus. And what those are is that's how you can, the plus and minus are simple. It's a zoom in, zoom out feature. So whenever you do have one of those really large 200 by 200 models, you can zoom out and you can see the scope of everything, or most everything. If it's an ultra large model, it's going to be really hard just to see the pixels. And if pixels are, the bigger the grid you are using, the further those pixels are numbers are going to be apart in this custom model screen. One caveat, one note, if you import an ultra large, let's say 1000 by 1500 custom model into xLights from the model builder that David Peace uses on Light Show Hub, or that he created, do not ever try to edit the model data from the model data screen. It will chop it down to, I think, 1000 by 1000. So the model will still work. xLights will recognize it. Everything will be fine. But if you have to change a pixel location or a number, you need to do it in, you need to import it back into David's model builder and edit it inside there, because xLights will probably cut off some of those pixels if it's larger than 1,000 by 1,000. So that's a caveat. But again, keeping it about 200 by 200, you're going to be safe. So in any event, so those are some of the basics. Let's zoom in here. We wanted to copy this, and what we can do is we can use the copy button here and copy this. And I know this is kind of odd, like nobody would really do this, but if you wanted to, you could create another custom model. You could click on the dialog box here. Let's do 9 by 9. And I don't know why I'm hitting 90. Click in the first square there, and then you can use this paste button, and there you've just pasted it in there. Okay, now are most people going to do this? Probably not, but you can always the reason why this is helpful is let me open up a Excel screen real quick, because you can take from xLights and you can paste right into your Excel sheet, and you can quickly have a simple way to keep track of all of your models that you have in xLights. So for the people who are from the land before time, like myself, that started in 2012 and 13, and the custom model builder was, just a thought in somebody's head. This is how we used to save our models. We didn't have an export model. We didn't have an import model. We had an Excel file, and we shared the Excel file. And what you could do is you could come in here, you could copy this, and you could then come in here and another thing you can do, which I can show you real quick, is use the cut feature. If you make a mistake, you can cut everything out. But again, I can also increase this to 10 by 10, and I can copy this, and I can go back into here, and I can use the paste function, and now I've created or I've duplicated the model. But I know that might not sound like that's not it might not be the best option, but it's available to those who may want to find a way to back up their models and just see them in an Excel spreadsheet, as opposed to a bunch of files on in a folder on your computer. So that's a functionality that's available in there. Now, another thing too in the model dialog is looking at the wiring diagram. Now, why this has been added in makes a lot of sense, because when we model this, we're looking at, when we're creating the model, we're physically looking at the prop, like it's right here in front of me. So this is a EFL flake, but if you're looking at the front of the model, you're looking at, this is how xLights sees the model. We call this the viewer side, or the guest side, or the show side, and then the back side is what we would push the pixels into. And the reason why it's rather important to have this wiring diagram is that as you're pushing, or as you're clicking on these nodes, as you're creating your custom model, you can look at the wiring diagram and say, wait a minute, I went the wrong way with that, because I was thinking I pushed it that way, and it's not. It's how it is whenever you look at it. So this is just a way to double check yourself as you're creating your custom model. So in this instance, we wired this model with a circle going in a clockwise direction from the 12 o'clock position all the way back to the 12 o'clock. And now this is going in a counterclockwise direction. So that's the basics of creating the custom model, or a custom model. It's nice you can physically take pictures of your props. There are advanced features that create rather intricate models. I'm a fan of doing it this way. This is the way I've always done it. I might be the slow and steady wins the race. There's the automatic custom or automatic custom model builder that Keith spent a lot of time working on. I didn't have much luck with it when we tried it at Expo this year, when we had a snowflake that was wired wrong. And but in any event, we went back in and just downloaded and repushed that model. So in any event, this is the basics. So as far as import from controller, if we had a controller set up, what I believe this has something to do with Twinkly Pro. You can import models from Twinkly Pro, but I'm not. I don't have any experience using that.
Yes, that's exactly what it's for.
Now Rob had to mess around with the Twinkly Pro stuff for a little bit. Now I already talked about I'll just cancel this out. Yeah. If you want to save your model, always hit save. I closed it out. If you want to delete a model, just hit the delete key on your keyboard. I'm going to go back to this one here and go back into the model data. This slider here, this is for the opacity. Let's say I had another prop that was rather loud and colorful. It doesn't allow you to see the physical numbers inside the prop. So if Blascoya were to make this amazing model right here, one of the things that I could do is I could trim this down. I could use this as my background, and I could say, okay, I create a snowflake like this or whatever, you know. So that's what this is for. So if you have that image of your snowflake lit up and you know how you pushed it, by all means, you can come in here and click and push the model. So that's what that opacity slider is for. You have, I believe that's everything on this section of it. So the other thing that you can do is you can actually set the wiring up so that whenever you have the model in front of you. So here I push the model and it's in front of me and I'm looking at the back of the model. We can reverse it and show the wiring model in the preview. So this down here will show the backside of the wiring, and then this up here is your actual wiring. So it will build this wiring diagram for you as you enter those pixel counts into the model dialog. That's a real nice feature. So one of the things that you may notice is that when we drew the circle, it only picked up the inner sets of numbers, and this is fine that we drew our model, our custom model out very easily. But the challenge with what you see here is that if you had drawn, let's bump this up a little bit here. If you draw a model and you only use this portion of it and you leave this model here, and then you go to sequence it in xLights, what xLights does is it finds the direct center and it centers the effects off of the center of this grid. It doesn't put the effects center of the actual pixels. So the functionality here that's nice, that's been added is everything else has been added in the right-click menu. So if you hit the right-click menu, you have that cut, copy, and paste. That's these functions here. You have a clear cells. So this will clear all of the pixel count, all the pixel numbers out of the cells. But what's really interesting is whenever you have this extra space here, we can do what's called trim unused space. And this is a nice function. And what it does is it trims off all of the unused lines where there's no numbers between the cross sections of the A column, the outer columns, the outer rows. It takes all of that space and deletes it. So what happens is wherever the center of your model falls, that's exactly where the xLights are going to. In the case of a shockwave is going to explode from the center. In the case of a bars, it's going to start from the very right or the very left onto the first set of pixels that are at that side. If you had these extra lines, let's say at the bottom here, the bars effect or the single strand effect would start down here, and it would look like it's not doing anything until it finally hit this first pixel. So this is all dead space, and you're able to add extra lines in whenever you're doing your custom models before you go into the outer rings, and you can go back and kind of resize and stuff, and work in that kind of a manner. But let's go ahead. We'll go back to the right-click menu. We can click Trim Unused Space. So some of the other functionality on the right-click menu, if we go through these, we have clear cells. Now, this is one of the reasons why I kept this over here so that I can always refer back to it, right? So if we're just on the screen here and we hit clear cells, that's going to clear the cell that you're currently in. So if we clear cells, well, that should clear the cells. Not sure why it's not. If you want to cut these pixels out, you can select, click and drag, and cut them out, and maybe you need to renumber those last ones. You'd come down here, click your auto, your active, your auto increment, and restart it at 14, and re-click your numbers in there. Maybe you screwed up and maybe you leapfrogged or something. So that's always a possibility within whatever you're doing. You have a find node. If you happen to have a ultra large prop that has 5,000 pixels in it, because everybody knows that high density props have to have as many pixels as possible, and you're looking for pixel number 920, you can put 920 or 900. It's not going to find it because we only go up to 16. That's the highest number there. Then let's see. We'll go ahead and we can locate find the last node, and it automatically goes to the highest node in the entire model. We have a couple other functionalities. So let's say I pushed my model not in reverse pixel order, but I pushed my model looking at the wiring diagram, but I did it from the back, as opposed to, or I built my model according to the back side of the prop, not the front. And if that were the case, you could flip your model horizontal. That might work for you, but it might screw up some of the submodels you've created. So that's a caveat there. So you can flip a model horizontal. You can right click. You can flip it vertically. So now it's the pixel is started at the bottom. That's some nice functionality whenever you realize, oh crap, I built my model. My model starts at the bottom, but I started it at the top, and I've got to get that flipped around somehow. How do I do that? So or you decide, I don't want it oriented that way, I want it oriented this way, and you can, so that's one of the things that you can do, is you can rotate them. And the reason why rotating a pixel using this functionality, the flip and rotate, is rather important is if we happen to have a prop like we'll use the snowflake here, the Seriflake. Every model has this rotation on it. Okay. The problem with using this rotation is not so much for your layout issues, it's for your sequencing issues. If you take this rotation point and turn the Seriflake, because you're not putting it here, you're not rotating it massively, you want it to lay this way, let's say. You know that you've got it up on the house this way, and you don't want to go up and change it. Well, what you physically need to do, if you're not going to go up and physically take it down and place it the right way, and you decide to do this, the model is still going to render its effects left to right of the actual prop. It's not going to do it per preview on your screen unless you physically go in and tell it to do it per the preview on your screen for every effect, for every sequence in your entire sequence library. That then if you don't do that, all of your effects will appear odd compared to other things. So I'll give you an example. Last year I put my showstopper flake up, and I canted it slightly, 1/6 of a turn this way. And so all season, only I saw it, but I could tell. I'm like, oh God, every time I looked at it. But I put the mounts on it, and to take it down and to redo it would have been a lot of work. What I could have done was this, very simply. I could have gone in, I could have clicked on the model data, and all I really needed to do was I could have rotated, and this is the other thing here, we can rotate the entire model X degrees. So maybe it's a 90-degree angle is a quarter turn. Well, what if you only did it 45 degrees? You could do a 45 degree or a 18 or 20 degree. You can rotate it in that manner. Now it does kind of mess with your pretty looking model, but it still keeps everything together in the manner that you'd like it to, and it would still be that model. So for example, let's go and do that with the Seriflake so that you can see it. Now, again, all of these model datas have been trimmed out so they're not using extras. This is 183 pixels by 211. So that's a rather big model. If we zoom out here, this is an example of, you can barely see all of the pixels. You'll never see them all on one screen, even if I open them all up. A 200 by 200 grid is rather large, but you can see the reason the grid is so large, it makes an absolutely perfect, pretty model, and it looks really nice in the layout. But keep in mind that even though this is only 150 pixels, this is still going to cause render issues, not render issues, but it's possibly is going to take longer because you have all of this grid space, all of these empty squares, they have to absolutely be rendered. So even though there's no data, they still have to render data for them. So anyway, back to right click, let's rotate this. Maybe we only need to rotate this so that it is 12 degrees or 13 degrees. If we do that, let's say 12 degrees here. Now you can see it's kind of gone over a little bit more. Maybe we need it a little bit more, so we can try again, or we can cancel. If you don't like it and you know that 12 degrees isn't enough, you can cancel it and hit yes, don't abandon changes. And you can go back in and you can right click and you can rotate by 16 degrees, we'll say. Maybe that didn't do it, so we'll cancel again and we'll try again. Let's go a little crazy. Let's go 22 degrees. I don't know, we'll see. Rotate by 22. There we go. Well, we're getting closer, and you can play with it until you get it to that point. And then once you get it to the point where this matches what it is in your show, then you can re-render all your sequences and your effects will run fine. And you didn't have to use this manipulation of this rotate handle right here. So it's helpful to use the rotate. It's the easy way out, but it doesn't fix the issues with how xLights all natively sees your model. No matter if you put this upside down, xLights is going to say, this is the left of my prop and this is the right. This is the bottom and then this is the top. So xLights, that's the way xLights is, unless you go in and physically change all of your render styles to per preview for that prop. So there's that. Let's go back in and look at a couple more functionalities that you may not have known about. We've already talked about the rotate. We haven't talked about reverse. Now, in the case of personal example, the first time I ever pushed 12 volt pixels into the Ice Queen snowflake at Rob's house, I accidentally started with the female end of the 12 volt pixels. They had X connects on them. I'd never used them before. And I reverse wired Rob's Ice Queen snowflake. And the way that we had to fix it was, well, we ended up fixing it. This is one of the ways that you could end up fixing it, but you have to fix all of the submodels so that it works. But what happened was I reverse wired it. So if you reverse wire something, this is one way that you can fix the reverse, and you can click on reverse wiring. And now we're going in, as I said earlier, we did this in a clockwise direction. Now we're going in this counterclockwise direction. So that's something that could be potentially helpful for you down the road. Compress. Compress means to make it smaller, I believe. I don't know that there's any more compression that I can do on this. Well, maybe a little bit, but we can also use this shrink space by 10%. Maybe I want to make this model smaller. This is something natively that xLights can do. It can shrink it 10%, 50%, or shrink space by 99%. Another thing that you can do, as we did earlier, you can use expand to use space. Let's go ahead and bump up the cell counts here to 13 by 13. And let's go ahead and expand to use space, and you can see what it did there. Now, obviously, I trimmed off accidentally the 1 and the 12 here, or the 1 and the 16. But that's something that xLights can do if you want a bigger model, if you want to be able to say, you know what, cut this out, put this over here. You can hit Control V. I think it'll come back up. Maybe you want to make a nicer model. You can hit Control X and you can bring it down. There's Control V. It's just another functionality built into xLights that you can mess around with. If you wanted to shrink space by 50%, there's what it can do. So let's cancel out of there and go back in. And then you have a couple other things here. Copy layer forward. All of this deals with your 3D. I really don't want to get into the 3D because it gets very confusing very quick. Convert to a single node. What convert to a single node should do is it should take this model. If you're and let's say you're an LOR person and you have a bunch of circles in your display and they're only one channel and you're just turning on red LEDs and the prop has red LEDs on them, and you're just taking this model and you're converting it into the red circle or the red wreath that you have in your yard. This is what you're going to use, convert to a single node. And now they're all the number one channel. So xLights can do that for you to create an individual single model. So if you've already done the work or somebody's already done the work, like I did a very interesting wireframe reindeer a number of years ago, and all I did was use the number one. And somebody said, "Oh, can I have your pixel reindeer?" And I said, "It's not a pixel reindeer; it's just an LED reindeer." So that was a nice addition to quickly take a shape that you've already clicked out or it has been clicked out and convert it into a single node prop or a single model prop. If you were a single individual channel prop like LOR AC props. So I am going to abandon changes. Let's go ahead and play around a little bit more with a prop that has a lot bigger space to it. Let's go ahead and try this reduction again. I want to jump back to this because this is a rather large model. And does it need to be? Well, the bigger it is, the nicer it looks. But does it need to be that big? Probably not. Let's go ahead and shrink it by 50% and see how it looks. So xLights just shrunk it by 50%. Down here, it doesn't look any different. It looks exactly the same. I think the challenge with having a smaller prop model, a smaller grid size, the challenge that you're going to find is whenever it comes to telling the difference between what pixel is what, whenever you're about to go in and do submodels for them. So if you make this model too small, the pixels do get skewed, as you saw in the smaller example with the circle. You do have that issue or that challenge, but again, none of these are skewed. So I think this is a relatively reasonable size for this specific snowflake. Nothing's on top of each other. Everything looks rather well put together. You could physically adjust some of these to make them maybe more sharp so that they are a little more pretty. You could go around and edit them. But there we just save 50% of the pixel spacing on that model. So, and you're also not going to get dinged whenever you do a check sequence in xLights. You're not going to see that come up as an error and say, "Oh my gosh, how do I fix that?" So now you know how to fix that. One of the other things that I believe is now available in xLights without even going into the custom model data. I believe this has been added in. I believe that you can select the model, you can right click and you can flip horizontal and flip vertical. And if that's the case, let's go into our test example here. And the way that this is set up, the way that it's wired is counterclockwise. And it starts on this side. We started over here in the bottom left. Let's rotate that so that's back at the top right. Rotate 180. So now we're back at the top. We're at the 1 o'clock position and we're going clockwise. So if we click OK, we right click over here and we can flip horizontal. And if we go back into the data now, you'll see that oh, it flipped it, but it didn't flip it in the model data.
It doesn't flip it in the model data. It only flips it on the screen. So then your per preview is the only thing that's going to work on a render style.
Okay. So flipping here Doing this
Is
flip
bad.
is bad. So in other words, it's doing flip is just like doing that. That's bad. Don't do that. So, but you can if you want to, because apparently they wanted you to be able to do that. So, but you can do it. So don't do that. Or do it and just do it and know the consequences of your action.
You were being hypnotized. Forget the last 22 seconds of the training.
Oh my. But so that's, I'm going to end on this note that there's still a lot to mess around with and learn about custom models. There's a ton. I mean, we've been going now for about 45 minutes or so, we'll say, and there's the whole 3D side of it. And just getting into the 3D side is you really have to be. So I watched a video and there were these two fellas were talking about how they see things in their head, and one says, I see the words as somebody saying them to me. Another guy says, oh, I imagine the picture. And then another guy comes in and he says, oh, well, I have dyslexia, but I see everything in like 3 dimensions. And I actually see things in a lot of 3-dimensional views. And it's really hard for me to explain them because I just inherently have that as part of like what my brain does whenever I look at something. And it's really hard for me to convey that. So if I were to jump in and start teaching 3D, I'd really have to sit down and get into it very specifically, because we don't really use a lot of 3D props other than, I mean, your Mega Tree's a 3D prop. What other 3D props do you have? The sphere, if you have the sphere, you know, that's those are the 2 3D props. So the cube, if you've got the cube, and they're pre-built for you, like all of those work in xLights natively. So building a 3-dimensional prop is an ultimate custom prop. If you have one of those, what is that? Help me out, Rob, with the I want to say the fish thing with all the pipes coming out and the firework thing. That model is rather intricate, and you really have to think about how you're building it. So
I call it the spiky ball of hell. But yeah, I mean, firework model. I think when they originally built the firework model, it was a bunch of polylines is how they built it. They didn't even use the shared code at the porcupine. But they used a bunch of polylines to do it. They didn't even use the custom model thing. So that thing that I was building for Mr. Manfrey was just less hair than I have now. That's all. Again,
why you shave it off? That way you don't have to worry about it. All right, guys, that's all I have for you on custom models. If you have any questions, by all means, I'm going to go look at the comments because I've actually been talking now for quite a while. If you have any questions, just go ahead and unmute your microphone. For everybody who's on Facebook, because I know we're still live, by all means, jump in to the PPD Zoom room. Click on, I imagine Rob put the link to our Zoom room here. Yep. Click on the link and jump in and ask your questions. We're going to end it here. Just a huge thank you. Just know that to everybody out there, a huge thank you, because we appreciate you guys taking the time to join us on Tuesdays. There's always something new to learn. If you like the video, for all those you folks out in YouTube land, if you really like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done yet. So, and if you appreciate the things that we do at Pixel Pro Displays, show your support for us by joining the PPD Sequence Club for a month. Get a couple great sequences. It's a good time.
And just remember out there, guys, like if you like what we do and stuff like that, or you want to see us do more of it, just make sure you're commenting on the video on like, hey, I'd like to see this, or on YouTube, you comment and give us some ideas. Half these videos that we do and half these training sessions we come up with, God's honest truth is it's a question that we see in the xLights group or we see in PPU, and we're like, hey, that's a great topic. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, we see out there, you jump, you know, there's not enough true videos out there to really get the help. So, you know, us keeping these videos current and you asking the great questions that you do, hey, we appreciate it, because you're feeding this, I don't know what you call this, open Tuesday mic training session with PPD up all night. So thank you. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.